Can strength training transform your slow twitch fiber into fast twitch fibers? And can that actually reduce your endurance qualities? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. I had a message from a follower who's a cyclist, and he had a couple questions about his training program and the balance between his endurance training and his strength training, and the effect of his strength training that he recently added onto his endurance. So we're going to talk about this. I'm going to try and answer as clearly as possible, but first let's try and understand the different types of muscle fibers that the body has. And that's one thing to take note of, is that we have learned a lot about exercise physiology or living physiology in general through studying mice, but it looks like mice don't have the same muscle makeup as humans. For example, if you've heard recently that we have type 2B fibers, which are a certain kind of fast twitch fibers, well, it turns out we don't actually have type 2B fibers. We have type 2X fibers and type 2A fibers. We also have type 1 fibers, which are the slow twitch. So we cannot take the animal model and superimpose it directly on human physiology because it just doesn't work. It's not exactly the same. So to sum it up, we have slow twitch fibers, type 1 fibers. We have two types of fast twitch fibers, the 2A and the 2X. 2A you can think of as kind of an intermediary muscle fiber, which has some endurance qualities and some power production qualities. Because technically, slow and fast twitch fibers produce the same amount of force, but they don't produce it at the same rate. And that's why we call them slow twitch, because they contract slowly, and fast twitch because they contract fast, you guessed it. So we have the slow twitch fibers, and the simplest way to think about it is that slow twitch fibers have a lot of mitochondria and have a lot of endurance, but don't produce a lot of power, whereas the fast twitch fibers have a lot of contractile elements inside of them, myosin, actin, filaments, which is the things that pull together, essentially. And so they can produce a lot of power, they contract quickly, but they don't have as much mitochondria as the slow twitch fibers, and they don't have the same level of endurance. So they cannot endure for long periods of time. They fatigue quickly, meaning we have to go and recruit another one, and then another one, and then another one, which isn't very efficient, right? So we have those different types of muscle fibers. Now, going back to our cyclist, the cyclist who wrote to me is 63 years old. Even if you're younger, this will still apply to you in your situation. And I hope you'll still learn something. By the way, if you're enjoying those little walk and talk videos, please leave a comment below. I'm really enjoying all the comments. I'm really enjoying chatting with you guys and knowing what you want to hear about or learn about next. So make sure you leave comments when you watch those videos. It helps me and it helps the algorithm as well. I make close to nothing off of those videos. I think I made $10 last month from YouTube on the English channel. Anyway, leave a comment, share with a friend. It's going to help me. Thank you. So back to our cyclist, 63 years old, and he cycles 5 times a week. And he recently added 2 strength training sessions, an hour and a half each time. He said he doesn't feel any downside on his fatigue, but he wanted to know if if it was okay for him to not have a day off now, because he has 5 cycling sessions plus 2 strength training sessions, and he's doing those on separate days, so he doesn't have a rest day anymore. Is that okay? That was his first question. And the second question was, are the slow twitch fibers going to transform into fast twitch fibers because of the strength training, and is that going to have a detrimental effect on his endurance performance? So first question about recovery, I would recommend having 1, maybe 2 days off in the week. So what you can do is condense 2 sessions on the same day. That could be a strength and an endurance, or an endurance and a strength, in that order, depending on your current goals and focus in your training program. I would at least have 1 day off, maybe even 2. So I would combine 2 sessions. You could also do 2 endurance sessions in the same day. That would free up another day, and that would, in my opinion, be beneficial. That'd be the first thing. Now, can you transform muscle fibers from one to the other? It seems like you can. Your muscle typology is essentially your proportion of slow and fast twitch fiber, seems to be determined by 2 things. One, your genetics, about 50% of the equation, right? So 50% is baked in the cake. You were born with it. That's what you got. But the other 50% seem to be highly influenceable or highly impacted by your age and by your level of activity, and especially the kind of activity that you practice. So if you do a lot of endurance training, it seems like you will transform some fast twitch fibers into slow twitch. That means you can transition type 2X to type 2A, and you can then you can transition type 2A into type 1, because it seems like this hybrid fiber types, so 1/2A and 2A/2X, and those can kind of go to one side or the other depending on your activity level. You do a lot of endurance, they go to the left, towards the slower side, and you do a lot of strength training with no endurance training, or you're sedentary, or you're just aging, so inactivity, it's going to move to the right. Not because you're gonna become buff, but essentially because you're losing the conditioning of your slow twitch fibers, which are full of mitochondria, which is indispensable for your health, your performance, your longevity, and your health. I can't say that enough. Mitochondria are now considered to be immune cells. They're part of your immune system. So you can grow your immune system, grow your mitochondrial capacity by doing endurance training. How crazy is this? So do your cardio. But anyway, we can transform muscle fibers, as we just saw, but you can also maintain your endurance qualities and build your fast twitch fibers by just doing both, okay? Just do both. And that, I think, is the answer. And that's usually where I sit on most questions. It's not or, it's and. We have to stop thinking about, should I do this or that? How about you do this and that? Do the endurance and do the strength, right? Get stronger, build some muscle mass, build some resilience in your tissues, in your muscles, in your tendons, in your ligaments, in your bones, and develop your cardiovascular system and your metabolic system. Mitochondria, right? Inside your muscles. Build capillaries, build stroke volume, build all those good things. And it's gonna make you a better person, better athlete. It's gonna make you live longer and live a better life. So, to conclude this video, you're not gonna lose your endurance because you add strength training. I would even argue that even if you focus on endurance training or endurance performance, whatever your goal are, you have to include strength training. I think for me, it's indispensable. So I hope you got the message through this video. If you have any question, let me know. And I look forward to recording the next video for you. Leave me your comments, leave me your questions. Talk to you in the next one. Take care.